Our conversation today is with Michael Ferril. He's the CEO of Rosie Rings. They are out in Denver, Colorado. However, Michael is from Mississippi State, and I'll begin with a quote from the Grateful Dead. What a long, strange trip it's been. Michael, we appreciate you sharing your story with us today.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
So walk us through. You're in Mississippi. You get involved in a candle company here called Aspen Bay. Is that right?
That's right. I started there as a production supervisor during my final semester at Mississippi State. At the time, I had started a small business there in Starkville while I was in school to try to support myself, and kind of grew it up. And I was at a fork in the road of whether to sell that business or try to, make a go at it for the long run, and found a buyer and found a pretty good job there at the candle factory in Mississippi. And so opted for that route, and been in the candle industry since.
So when you came into Aspen Bay, though, there were some challenges at that time with that company, separate, I guess, from the challenges you faced with the new company. But tell us about those challenges and what you did to try to solve them and what you learned from them.
Well, yeah. Essentially, since my first day on the job there, I've never stopped learning. The company there was on a pretty high growth curve. We were seeing about 30 to 40% growth per year, and they had historically been this small company that didn't really know how to face these challenges. About the time I came on, they also brought on a couple other members of the leadership team. And we were able to kind of turn the curve on that growth and hit that 30 to 40% mark every year for 4 years, up until the company was sold to a private equity firm in 2016.
All right, so when it was sold, did you see the handwriting on the wall? Did you realize you'd have to do something else? Could you have stayed on? How did you end up transitioning from there and out to Denver?
Yeah, so I went all the way through the merger, and I spent about a year under the new management of that private equity firm, and they combined us with another company, and the two brands that they combined formed an umbrella company. And I saw kind of, I like making a difference every day. I like, at the end of the day, I like being able to see what difference I made, what impact I had on the overall business. And I was getting further and further away with that. It turned from a $5 million company when I started there in 2012 to a $30 million company to a $60 million company by the time I left. And, my impact was not as great as it once had been. And through industry connections, I'd met Shannon Cumberland, who owned Rosie Rings out in Denver. And I'd been talking to her for about a year and a half, just off and on, sharing industry challenges and advice here. And she would offer advice there. And went out to Denver in February of 2017 for a ski trip, and emailed Shannon and said, "Hey, I'm going to be in the area. Love to, grab lunch or something, stop by the factory, just catch up." And so that happened, and there was kind of an impromptu job offer during that meeting. And, the timing was perfect. I felt like, I had done what I could do for the last company, and it was time for a new challenge for me. And it was time for, a new situational life experience for my family. And so we thought it was a great time to move out to Denver. And that job came with a whole slew of new challenges.
Yeah, well, were there some similarities between Aspen Bay and Rosie Rings that you found at least familiar or attractive?
Yeah. So when I started at Aspen Bay, they had kind of already made the curve from this struggling small company to one that was ready for growth. Rosie Rings, however, was still in the struggling phase. They had the business, but they didn't quite know what to do with the business. They had the sales, they had the numbers, but they weren't sure how to, kind of handle that successfully. So yeah, there was a lot of similarities early on. Essentially, the environments I've always been a part of has been nothing but change. You change every day, and that's a culture shock to a lot of people. And so that that was one of the things that I brought to Rosy Rings, and now it's something that I think everybody that works there enjoys.
So the pandemic was tough on everyone, and Rosy Rings no exception. Maybe some positives came out of it, but take us through how you dealt with the pandemic, because I think you were one of the small companies where it almost just brought you to your knees.
Yeah. Around March 1st, I was kind of in denial that it was going to happen. On March 12th, I was at a marketing meeting in Breckenridge. I saw a couple of news headlines, stepped outside, called Shannon, said, what's your take on this? She's like, I think this is going to be bad. And I left the meeting, came back to Denver to kind of figure it out. And on March 13th, we got 0 orders, so a 98% decrease in our daily revenue numbers. That continued for about a week. And yeah, it was pretty scary. We were able to pivot. We were able to really focus on our direct-to-consumer business and our website. We put just about every resource the company had left into that. We saw, triple-digit growth rates just overnight on the website once we started doing that and putting these resources into it. And the website kind of supported us through that time, up until we were able to get some, assistance through the PPP program and economic injury programs.
Well, but you had a website. Were you just not paying as much attention to it because your other core business was so good? What did you do different that made it explode sales-wise?
Well, so when I started Rosy Rings, we were primarily a wholesaler. We were repped. We had permanent showrooms across the country. We did the New York show, the Atlanta show, the Dallas show, the LA show. We were investing a tremendous amount into this rep and wholesale model. And in 2018, we decided to make a change. It just wasn't working for us anymore. We were taking substantial losses on all of our commissions and all of our showrooms, to the point where it was costing us $100,000 to do a show. We'd write $30,000 worth of orders. It just wasn't really a sustainable model for us and the products that we made. So in 2018, we made the conscious decision that we were going to switch from that wholesale model to be about 50% wholesale, 50% direct to consumer. So we started putting a lot of effort into our website towards the end of 2018. And again, in 2019, we put as many resources as we could, but we were trying to fund that change through the wholesale revenue, right? We didn't have any outside capital. We were struggling a little bit, and we were trying to do everything that we could through funding it ourselves. So kind of what the pandemic did there in March of 2020 was it allowed us to take all of our time resources and put it into the website, because the wholesale business was basically non-existent. All of our customers were closed down due to governmental mandates.
Well, what's your mix now between direct to consumer and wholesale? You doing any wholesale at all?
Now, yeah. So we're about 20% direct to consumer at the end of 2020. This year, we're hoping to be about 30-70, and by 2023, we're hoping to hit our 50-50 mark. So
if you're selling to me wholesale, is that a red flag that I see you slowly turning away? And I've seen this in other sectors. Fender music instruments, for example, they always use the typical model where they sell to the local music store at 50% off of suggested retail price. They've just started selling direct to consumers and letting the consumers design their own guitars, and the price is still the same. So their margins are just huge, but you've got all these mom and pops going, what's that mean for us down the road? What's that look like in your world?
So it's certainly a concern to a lot of our customers. What I would my take on it is the more brand awareness that we have as a company, that the Rosy Rings brand has, the better it is for everybody that's selling Rosy Rings brand. So for us to go direct to consumer through our e-commerce channel, it's not a direct competition with our boutiques that we sell to or our national retailers. If anything, it brings better awareness to our brand, because now we're investing more marketing money. We're investing more efforts into trying to make everybody aware of the products that are out there.
Yeah.
So we were never a big wholesale supplier to online brands or online retailers
Mm-hmm.
anyway. We like, the downtown, the unique shops. Our entire thing is that when you're shopping for our candles, it should be an experience. So yeah, the argument could be made that we're in competition, but I think that there's a bigger argument to be made that if anything, we're helping the mom and pop retailers.
So you're also doing some things, and I want to know why you decided to, like the candle making classes.
Yeah.
I can understand the value added there, but when did you make that decision and start doing those, and why do you do them, and what do you see as the benefit? Is it worth it?
Well, so our entire take, like I said, we like to be in stores that there's an experience. We want our candles to be an experience. The We started this brick and mortar retail concept called the Rosary Ring Studio, where it's a gift store and we sell our candles as well as other unique offerings. But the main play of the Rosary Ring Studio is the candle making experience and the other craft oriented classes that we offer there. And we think that our candles are very unique and they're a very laborious process. And we thought that if we could get people to come and experience that and partake in it, it just adds that much to their experience when they're burning that candle later. Not to mention, it's a lot of fun to make. And we started that concept in the fall of 2019. So it was pretty good timing there for the pandemic to hit right as we were taking off the next spring. We had to kind of shut everything down. So we just started that back this summer, and now the classes are back in full swing right now.
All right, so it looks as if we're coming out of the pandemic. You have weathered that storm, right? So now we're coming out. The clouds are clearing. You're looking down the runway. What's it look like for you guys? What do you see down the road?
Well, I have a very optimistic forecast in mind. This year, our goal is a 30% growth rate, and we're on track right now. I think year to date, we're at about 42%. We're seeing our customers come out of it pretty strong. Unfortunately, there were some customers that we lost along the way that couldn't weather the storm as well as others. But we're seeing that customers are very optimistic. The stores are opening back up. Consumers are feeling a little bit more comfortable spending some money on some affordable luxuries that maybe they didn't buy during the pandemic. And overall, I think that the rest of this year, I think we're going to hit that 30% growth rate. And I think that we're going to be on to bigger and better things for 2022.
So, Michael, I want to end with asking you for some general words of wisdom for our entrepreneurs. We've had some success with our entrepreneurship program, and we're trying to overcome that. Oh, but you're from Mississippi, right? That we seem to carry that bag over our shoulders. What advice would you give entrepreneurs out there at Mississippi State?
I would say push the limits. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do anything. Don't let social norms define who you are or what you're going to do in life. You make your own road, and if you can envision where you want to be, then just figure out a way to get there. Don't let the limits hold you back. Always easier to ask for forgiveness and permission, which you probably know better than most.
Well, thank you for that. Appreciate your time, and congratulations on your success. I've sort of been on the sidelines watching it from the days when you were back here in Starkville, but we appreciate you sharing your story with our students. It will be impactful for them. So thanks for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it.